Hello, my friends, it's Danny, and today we are chatting about a very popular topic. It's a topic that I get a lot of questions about, and that is sugar cravings. So in this video, I want to share with you 6 tips that have really helped me to better understand my sugar cravings, which ultimately has allowed me to eat less sugar over time. Now, some of these tips may surprise you, some of them you may already know, but if you find that any of them resonate with you, make sure to hit the like button to let me know. And if you have any tips, thoughts, questions, aha moments inspired by watching this video, come on down to the comment section below and share it. And if you want to be a part of a bigger, deeper, more soulful conversation around health, wellness, and weight, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Now, when it comes to sugar cravings, something that I have found is that a lot of people don't understand what their sugar cravings are about. We don't understand what's driving these cravings in the first place. And so we try to stop them by using willpower, right? But I'm sure you've discovered for yourself that using willpower can be rather tricky because number one, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of attention. And often we just don't have it in ourselves to will ourselves to take the preferred action, right? You may have a desire to take a specific action, but you also at the same time have a desire to eat sugar. And so often willpower feels like a tool that we use that puts us in this inner battle, right? Like we're trying to stop ourselves from doing something that we want to do as well, right? So it feels like a little bit of a battle. But what I have found for myself is the more that I can understand the desire for sugar, the better equipped I feel to actually meet myself and care for myself in a way that doesn't feel like I'm using willpower, but it feels more like self-love and self-care. So that's what we're going to chat about today, because the better you can understand your sugar cravings, the better chance you have to work with them and ultimately reduce them. Okay, so the first place I want you to investigate for yourself is, are you having enough naturally sweet whole foods in your diet? Oftentimes when we're not eating enough naturally whole sweet foods, so foods like oatmeal, brown rice, whole grains, sweet potatoes, root vegetables, fruits, berries, etc., right? We may find ourselves having more intense cravings for sugars. So weaving naturally sweet foods into your dietary approach can be a very gentle way of enjoying these foods without getting more intense cravings. And a lot of times what you'll see is that if somebody is trying to diet very hard or take a very all or nothing approach to, say, carbohydrates, or even just completely trying to demonize sugar, we will create more desire for it. So this may be true for you, it may not be, but what I want you to do is just reflect and investigate. Are you eliminating these foods from your diet? Do you go all or nothing with carbohydrates? If this resonates, then you may want to try a gentle approach of simply weaving more real whole foods that are naturally sweet into your diet. So this may look like having some protein oatmeal for breakfast and then putting some fresh seasonal berries over the top, or maybe this time of the year, your favorite variety of apple over the top. It's a really fun way to incorporate a variety of real whole foods and produce as well, because as you know, fruits and vegetables are also carbohydrates. So just again, think about naturally sweet foods. Do you have them in your diet? And if not, this is a great place to start and see if that makes any difference for you. Now, the second reason you may find yourself with strong sugar cravings is feeling very fatigued. You're just feeling tired, right? We have to remember that our bodies are absolutely brilliant and they are always working for us. And so the body will take note. If you are tired and you need some rest or a little bit of restoration and you're not able to meet that need and you're just trying to push through and keep going, your body is going to see that and it's going to say, hey, he or she needs a quick boost of energy. And the body knows that the quickest way to get a boost of energy is to eat some type of highly processed form of sugar and or carbohydrate, right? Think about it like this. The more processed a food is outside of your body, the less processing the body needs to do to access the energy in that food. So if you are tired, if you are fatigued and you're trying to push through and you're trying to keep going, your body is trying to work with you. It's trying to have your back, and it's like, hey, let's get he or she a quick boost of energy. Let's get a snack. Let's go to the vending machine, right? And that craving is going to kick in. Now, the way to balance this craving out is to actually give your body what it's really looking for, right? Which is some type of rest or restoration. So if you have the ability, like if you work from home or if it's the weekend, to lay down and take a 10, 15-minute power nap, oftentimes this is all we need to get the rest that we're needing and get that little extra boost of energy. But I also know that this is not always the case depending on where you are, right? So maybe you're at work or maybe you're at school. If this is the case, what you can think about is creating more energy. So let's remember that energy begets energy. And oftentimes when we want more energy, it's kind of counterintuitive, but actually doing something helps you to create more energy. So this could look as simple as going outside and taking a 5 to 10 minute walk around your building, right? Getting some fresh air, getting some vitamin D, getting the blood flowing, and that could be all you need to have a little boost of energy. If you can't leave the building, you could do, 10 to 15 push-ups at your desk, or do some jumping jacks. Just get up and move your body. Give yourself a little boost of energy. And again, I know it's counterintuitive, but it actually can create more energy and give you exactly what you're looking for. Another great way to do this would simply be to open up a window and take 5 to 10 deep breaths of fresh air. Another tool or tip that can be really helpful is doing something restorative. So maybe going on YouTube and looking up a quick meditation or a 5-minute inspirational video, something that kind of fuels you and feeds you from the inside out. I mean, I've actually found it very interesting. It's something that my husband taught me, which is that when you completely surrender to your fatigue, like if you just allow yourself for 5 minutes to just let go, sometimes that is enough to actually restore yourself. It's fascinating, and I highly recommend that you give it a try. Now, a third reason that you may have some strong sugar cravings are that you're using a lot of artificial sweeteners. Now, again, I completely understand. It makes a lot of sense why people would opt for artificial sweeteners. If you're trying to reduce the sugar in your diet, right, it makes sense that you would think, well, let's have artificial sweeteners. There's no calories, they don't affect my blood sugar. We kind of feel like we're getting around the system. And the truth is, in small quantities, artificial sweeteners can work for certain people, but if you find yourself having an abundance of artificial sweeteners, especially if you're doing this as a way to eat less sugar, it can actually create more sugar cravings in the long run. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why that is. Now, think about it like this. When you eat food, digestion begins in your mouth. Artificial sweeteners can be up to 300 times sweeter than regular sweeteners, okay? So you eat, digestion begins in the mouth, dopamine is released in your brain. This is the feel-good hormone. So when we eat something sweet, dopamine is released in the brain. When you're eating an artificial sweetener that is intensely sweet, up to 300 times sweeter than natural sugars, that releases an excess of dopamine in your brain. When that dopamine is released, your brain thinks that something very important is happening, right? Your brain's like, whoa, that was really good. We need to do that again. And so it will create more desire, more cravings for more sweet food. So think about it like this. If you eat a food that is in its whole form and it's naturally sweet, like something like an apple, right? You have some apple, you get a little bit of dopamine, you go about your day. But if you eat something that is highly, highly sweetened, right? Especially artificially sweetened, where that level of sweetness is so intensified, you eat that and there's a lot of dopamine released in the brain, right? So that's going to often result in a lot more desire for sweet foods. So the way to approach this is you want to first in my opinion, take the hop from artificial sweeteners to natural sweeteners, okay? So if you're having a lot of artificial sweeteners, let's move over to more natural sweeteners, things like maple syrup or honey or coconut sugar. If you're looking for something that does not have calories and doesn't affect the blood sugar, then you might want to try something like stevia or monk fruit, okay? And then once you are on this playing field, let's remember that the goal overall is to reduce our desire for sweetness. You want to start to pull back on how much you're intaking, right? So step one is like, let's get off of the artificial, let's get to real foods. Once you're there, let's start to see how we can pull back. So for example, if you're somebody who likes to drink hot tea or iced tea and you're putting 2 tablespoons of sweetener in that, just start 1 week by reducing it by 1 teaspoon until your taste buds adjust and you're enjoying this level of sweetness. Then take it back again, right? We're going to baby step our way back until your taste buds again are adjusting and you're enjoying this level of sweetness. Really, the name of the game here is to get our palates to a place where we are enjoying the natural sweetness in real whole foods. When you get to a place where you're excited to eat a berry or you're excited to eat an apple because it tastes so delicious and so sweet, healthy eating and eating less sugar becomes so much easier, right? So we want to be mindful of not eating super highly processed foods. And you know, this goes for sugar. It also goes for fats and salts as well, because what happens is the taste buds get completely obliterated. And so we no longer can appreciate the natural sweetness in the foods that we're eating. So to bring it back to sugar and sweetness, right? Get on the playing field of real, whole, naturally sweet foods, and then work to pull those back as well, so that you get to a place where you can just enjoy the natural sweetness of real whole foods incorporated throughout your diet in a way that leaves you feeling really vibrant and nourished and energized. So the fourth place to investigate if you're having sugar cravings is protein. And protein is interesting because it can go both ways. So oftentimes we will crave sugar if we don't have enough protein in the diet. And that is because if you're not eating a lot of protein or enough protein, often the body's going to process through what it is eating much more quickly. You're going to see spikes in your blood sugar. They're going to come up, they're going to come down. And as you may know, when your blood sugar comes down, we often have cravings for sugar. So if you know for sure, if you can kind of sit back and go, I'm really not thinking a lot about protein, I'm not incorporating it on a regular basis in my diet, this is a great place to start. Try incorporating more protein into your diet. And I know a very common question, or maybe the question that's running through your brain right now is, Danny, how much protein should I be having? And I am going to say, of course, like everything, it's different for everyone, but I do think, especially as we get older, that we want to be working towards, I would say, about a gram of protein per pound of desired body weight, right? 0.8 grams to a gram. Think about where you are now and then slowly work your way up. If you're nowhere near that, you don't have to go all or nothing and jump all the way in, but just start to slowly increase your protein intake. Think about having a baseline of 30 grams of protein at each meal that you're eating. That's a great place to start. Now, on the flip side of this, and probably less common, but if you're eating in excess of protein, your body will look for extra carbohydrate or sugar to help process that protein through your body. So if you do feel like, wow, I actually eat a ton of protein and I feel like I'm having really strong sugar cravings, that is a place to investigate as well. And I think more importantly, what this really makes me think of is so much of our journey with health, wellness, and weight is really about deepening the relationship we have with ourselves and our body. Really taking the time to learn ourselves and learn our body so we can understand what is happening. Because when we can understand what's happening, then we are better equipped to create tools and strategies and habits to take care of ourselves. So remember, we're human and it's not all going to look the same for each of us, and we have to give ourselves the grace and the space to figure it all out. The fifth reason you may find yourself with strong cravings for sugar, and this is a big topic, and that is unmet emotional needs. If you find yourself in a contracted emotional state, meaning maybe feeling stressed, overwhelmed, upset, angry, tired, lonely, right? These are all emotional needs that feel like contraction in the body. You may find yourself having strong cravings for sugar. And that is because our bodies like to be in homeostasis. They like to be in balance. This is where we are in our healthiest place, right? When we're in a balanced state, just kind of swinging a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, but hanging out right in the middle. And if we get extremely contracted, think about it like a pendulum, and we're swinging super, super tight and far over to one side, eventually we're gonna come swinging back to the opposite side. And from a physical standpoint with food, the body's gonna get you there by creating a craving for an expansive food. Think about it. Energy is tight and contracted. We need to open up. We need to expand. Your body knows that the most expansive foods are sugar, refined carbohydrate, and alcohol. So if you're in a place where you're unable or you don't know how to meet the emotional need, the body is trying to work with you. It's trying to help you come back to homeostasis, and sometimes a food band-aid will do exactly that. And here's what I want you to think about. Your body is always working in your favor because your body knows that if you stay in a contracted state over a long period of time or a low-level stress response over a long period of time, this is where dis-ease in the body begins. And your body is trying to protect you from entering this space of dis-ease in your body. It's trying to keep you in balance. It's trying to maintain homeostasis. And so I will often tell my clients, if you find yourself having strong cravings for sugar, sometimes some chocolate or some ice cream is not the worst thing that can be happening. A lot of times we're just looking at the surface level and we're thinking about the 5 or the 10 pounds that we're getting from the extra calories. But really there's a bigger picture that's going on here, and your body is trying to work with you. And this is why it's so important that we understand the cause of the cravings that we're having, because instead of just trying to willpower our way through, which is a very temporary fix and does not last if you need to rely on it all of the time, we can really understand what we're needing, right? If there is an emotional need, you can begin to understand like, hey, what is this emotional need and what am I actually wanting and needing? And instead of trying to solve that need with food, we actually solve that need with whatever it is we're really needing. And the sixth and final tip I want to share today, and of course this is by no means an all-inclusive list, and number 6 is less of a cause for sugar cravings and more of a tip to help care for yourself when sugar cravings pop up, and that is to create a supportive environment for yourself. Think about creating a home environment that supports your long-term health, wellness, and or weight goals, right? If you know that there are certain foods that are trigger foods for you, or certain foods you reach for that don't align with your long-term goals, try not bringing them in the house. Now, that doesn't mean don't ever eat them and don't ever have them, but do it in a conscious way when you want them in a way that's going to align with your goals and not as a reaction to a craving or to an unmet emotional need, right? So if you know that like ice cream is your trigger food, perhaps don't buy that the next time you go to the grocery store, and instead brainstorm some ways that you could incorporate some more naturally sweet foods into your house, maybe some fun snacks, so that when you want something, you're moving in the direction of your long-term goals without completely telling yourself you can't have anything at all. So think about things like maybe having some frozen fruit. You could do frozen berries with a little bit of whipped cream, or maybe you like frozen grapes or frozen bananas. We actually love to make these frozen Snicker bar snacks out of bananas, and I will link that for you down in the description box below. Dairy is also naturally sweet, right? So if you have dairy in your diet, maybe you have a yogurt, or maybe you have some cottage cheese with some fresh seasonal fruit on top, maybe an apple with some sliced cheddar cheese. There's so many fun food ideas to explore, but again, take the time to have your back ahead of time, because when we always wait till we're in that moment of weakness, it becomes a lot harder. So if you try and create a supportive environment ahead of time, when you're in that moment, it just becomes a lot easier. And you can do this outside of your kitchen as well. I really love the idea of having a place in your house where you can sit and unwind and relax. A place that is like your little corner that creates a good emotional state for you, that you're like, I know I can just go sit there, right? This can be as simple as a chair that has your favorite candle. Maybe you keep a couple of your favorite books there, some nice warm lighting, somewhere that you can just go and sit and give yourself a moment of space to think, to reflect, right? To ask yourself, hey, what's going on right now? What do I really need? What would I really like? What would really feel like self-care right now? Because again, when we just fall back to habituated habits, sometimes we're just moving automatically on autopilot. And what we really need is the ability to just create a little bit of space for ourselves. So if you don't have a favorite space in your home already, make one for yourself, a place that you're like, I'm just gonna sit in that place for 5 minutes and just connect to myself, try to get clear on what's going on here before you just default into old patterns. And I know for myself, something that I have found is oftentimes what I really want is literally just time with myself, by myself. It's almost like we crave our own attention. Like, I just want my own attention. I just want to see, hey, Danny, what are you feeling? What are you needing? What are you wanting right now? And a lot of times, simply just going to that chair, having my journal there, my books, maybe I'll make some hot tea, whatever it is enough to shift me from defaulting to an old pattern that doesn't serve my health goals and my long-term goals. And it also really helps me feel like I'm able to meet myself and take really good care of myself. So it's just a little food for thought, something to explore for yourself. But I know for sure what I have discovered is the more I can understand what's driving the cravings, the more ability I have to actually care for myself and not default to just eating a pint of ice cream. So as always, I'd be so curious to hear if any of these specific tips resonated with you, if anything was new, if there were any aha moments. If you have any questions, if you have any tips, please come down to the comments below and share. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Danny Spies, and I'll see you back here with a new video very soon.